Hello, everyone, again. We are here with WeTalkSports, Andy and Sam, giving you the Week 8 NFL recap. We jump right into it with the Thursday night game featuring the Vikings at the Chargers. Chargers win this one in complete domination. 37-10 of note in this game. Carson Wentz got beat up consistently throughout the game to the point where he walked away after the game with a season-ending injury, is out for the year. And so the Vikings will have to go to J.J. McCarthy the rest of the way. I'm not sure they have full confidence in him, as it seemed like they were quietly benching him. But he will be their guy going forward. Vikings now at 3-4. Season can really go any direction at this point. Chargers 5-3. That's the kind of dominant performance I was expecting from them this year. They hit a little bit of a blip there the last few weeks, but we'll see if they can keep this going. Justin Herbert with 3 touchdown passes, and Chargers with that 37-10 win. Sam, anything you want to add about the game?
Well, we'll have to see what the Vikings decide to do with the quarterback. They're going to get a new backup. If that backup's going to start over J.J. McCarthy, what they're going to end up doing, but yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Sunday games. For the first time in a while, we had no early morning London or Europe games, which, frankly, I'm not a huge fan of those. So we'll start off with the Giants at Eagles, rematch of a game that the Giants actually won a few weeks ago. This was also the Giants' first game after the epic meltdown in Denver, and turns out they might still be in meltdown mode, as they never really were in this game. They lose it 38-20. Saquon Barkley finally broke out with a big game, 150 yards. He did leave the game with a groin injury. By all accounts, it's not serious, so hopefully he won't miss too much time. But on the flip side, Cam Scatterboo for the Giants, exciting rookie, broke his ankle. He is out for the year. And may face a long rehab to get back. So Eagles offense looked good here. They win at 38-20 to improve to 6-2. Giants are 2-6, and hopefully, from my perspective, counting down the days before they get a new regime in there with the coach and the general manager, because these guys are not it. Sam?
Well, Cam Scatterboo's injury looked pretty bad, and Saquon Barkley, I think since he has the bye week to rest, he should be ready to go again when his bye week's over.
All right, let's take a look at the Dolphins and the Falcons. Weird game. Can't figure any of these teams out, honestly. Dolphins looked dead in the water last week, losing to the Browns badly. Tua looked awful. And then they go to the Falcons, who at times have looked good this year, and destroy them 34-10. 4 touchdown passes for Tua. Falcons looked lost offensively and defensively. Dolphins improved to 2-6. Falcons 3-4. Sam, anything you want to add there?
Well, it is to note that the Falcons this week did not have Drake London or Michael Penix, and did have Kirk Cousins starting for them, which may be the reason behind they're not great. Yeah.
Yeah, not a good sign for their trade value of Kirk Cousins. If the Falcons were thinking they might be able to showcase him and trade him, given all the quarterback needs around the NFL, and you thought that they might focus on the running game, but really couldn't get going there either. Falcons not looking great this week at home against the Dolphins. All right, let's move on to perhaps the most entertaining game of the day, the Jets at Bengals. Winless Jets going into this game, and yet they come out with a thrilling 39-38 victory. A bit of an explosion there in the fourth quarter, outscoring the Bengals 23-7. Justin Fields was benched and then played anyway because Tyrod Taylor got injured and wasn't able to play. And Justin Fields looked great. Maybe he just needs to not think of himself as the starter, and he could play a little bit fresh and fast in terms of not thinking too much. Breece Hall really was the story from my perspective. Ran for 2 touchdowns. He threw a touchdown. I'll say if you saw it, it wasn't pretty. And I don't know how the Bengals were trying to defend that play with their back to the ball. But Breece Hall had a great game. Justin Fields had a solid game. Jets get their first win, 39-38. Bengals offense, since Joe Flacco's been there, has been solid. So all their fantasy prospects are back from life support, but their defense not so good in this one, giving up 39 points to the Jets. So we will have no winless teams this NFL season. Sam, any thoughts there?
Well, Justin Fields definitely looked a lot better this game, and yeah.
Do you think he's a viable fantasy starting quarterback?
I don't know about in fantasy, but I think for the Jets, they could probably still get by with him.
Yeah.
They won't be good, but I think they could still get 5 wins.
5 wins, all right. That'd be impressive. I think, his running ability makes him intriguing for fantasy, but he's had some of those weeks that are total bombs. So low floor is always a risk with a quarterback. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Browns, fresh off their big win against the Dolphins, go to New England to face the Patriots. And run into the budding star that is Drake May, who continue to roll here. Browns have pretty solid defense, typically speaking. And Drake May threw 3 touchdowns and generally dominated this game, 32-13. Patriots improved to 6-2. Browns dropped to 2-6. As not much, really, honestly, to comment on. Quishon Judkins got injured for the Browns in this one, so we'll have to keep an eye on that to see what kind of impact it had. Dylan Gabriel wasn't really able to move the team down the field, and I think the Patriots at 6-2 have to be considered one of the top contenders in the AFC, which is a bit ahead of schedule, but Mike Vrabel doing a great job there in New England. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, the Patriots look very good this year. That's about it.
That's it, yeah. All right, let's move on to Bills at Panthers. Bills, hit a bit of a rough patch. Hadn't looked great. Lost a couple games. Panthers are, occasionally looking really competent, but this one was not close. James Cook came in and just ran all over the Panthers. Actually ended up having 216 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns. 40-9 in what a bit of a theme this year. Another NFL blowout. We just don't see this many blowouts most years, but Bills beat the Panthers on the road 40-9, improving to 5-2, while the Panthers dropped to a still respectable 4-4, but they were without Bryce Young, so Andy Dalton did not fare well, a la Kirk Cousins in the Falcons game. The veteran backup quarterback had a rough week this week, at least in those 2 games. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, the Panthers did not look good. Andy Dalton did not look good. Yeah, the Panthers are a very weird team. They go from 1 week looking really good and looking like they could potentially even make the playoffs, then the next week looking terrible and like they're one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of that, I think we'll move on to the next game. We got the Bears at the Ravens. Bears were just starting to look like maybe they were going to be legit contenders. Ravens, I was ready to write off. They had such a horrible start. They had Tyler Huntley starting this game as Lamar Jackson's not quite ready to come back. There was some questionable shenanigans maybe with the injury report that made it seem like Lamar Jackson might play in this game, but he ultimately didn't. So I thought the Bears were going to roll here, but in fact the Ravens rolled and win 30-16. Derrick Henry finally looked like Derrick Henry, scored a couple of touchdowns, had some good runs in this one, and Tyler Huntley actually looked solid in this one as well. Defensively, the Ravens held up, something that hasn't happened all season long. Or maybe you could say the Bears offense just kind of didn't show up. But Ravens now 2-5. They'll get Lamar Jackson back supposedly here in week 9, and they sort of have to win all their games in order to get back into playoff contention. So we'll see see if this is a turning point for them. Bears dropped to 4-3, and again, I would just say overall disappointing given the momentum that they had. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, it does look like the Ravens season is not over, and they look like they could easily sneak into the playoffs as the 7 or 6 seed. And the Bears also, they didn't look good in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the playoffs as the 7 seed.
All right, there you have it there. Sam saying that the 2-5 Ravens could easily sneak into the playoffs. We'll see if it's true. It'd be a miraculous turnaround if so. All right, moving on. Another bit of a surprise game. 49ers at the Texans. 49ers dropped this one 26-15 after having a huge 200-plus yard week the week before with Christian McCaffrey. He really wasn't able to get anything going. Houston Texans defense has been a really strong spot for them, and so if they can get their offensive going just a little bit, then they can really do some good things. Nico Collins did not play in this game, but C.J. Stroud had a big game, 318 yards passing, a couple touchdowns. Texans improved to 3-4, while the 49ers dropped their record to 5-3. Anything you want to add, Sam?
Well, I think the injuries are finally catching up to the 49ers, and the Texans, C.J. Stroud didn't look great at the beginning of the season, but I think he's worked it out and looked pretty good.
All right, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at New Orleans Saints. This one was not expected to be close, and it really wasn't. Tampa Bay didn't blow them away, but they were comfortably ahead most of the game, winning 23-3. This was the end of the Spencer Rattler era or error, depending on how you want to think about it, for the Saints. They'll drop to 1-7. Tyler Shuck will be taking over as the starting quarterback. Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, just solid, as their defense really was the story in this game, but they improved to 6-2. Again, Saints at 1-7. They'll be maybe fighting with the Jets the rest of the season to see who gets the number 1 pick. Previously thought of as the March for Arch, but I think that's not going to happen with Arch Manning's season so far at the University of Texas. But those two teams will battle it out with, who haven't gotten to them yet, but probably the Tennessee Titans for the number 1 pick throughout the rest of the year. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, yeah, earlier today, the Saints announced that Spencer Rattler is getting benched for Tyler Shuck, so this will probably be Spencer Rattler's last game as an NFL starter ever, and yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he might be able to have a career as a backup, but it didn't go well in a starting role. All right, let's move on to another game here. Dallas Cowboys visiting the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos wearing the throwback uniforms. I love those uniforms. Wish they would stick with those long term. And coming off their historic win against the Giants, where they scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. Their offense picked up right where they left off, scoring 14 points in the first quarter here, and overall 44 points in the game. They beat the Cowboys relatively easily, 44-24, despite not having Patrick Surtain. Broncos are rolling. They got R.J. Harvey, their rookie running back, going. J.K. Dobbins had 100-plus yards. Cowboys, on the flip side, whose offense has been flying pretty high with Dak Prescott and getting CeeDee Lamb back last week. A bit of a dud for those of you who might have used Dallas Cowboys as part of your fantasy offense this week. Sam?
Well, yeah. Patrick Surtain, I believe, got hurt in this game. The Broncos have won every single one of their home games, only losing 2 games on last-second field goals, and I think that they are the contenders for the Super Bowl. They'll have to get through some pretty hard opponents, those being the Chiefs and the Bills, but I think if the Chiefs and Bills play each other in the divisional round, and then the Broncos make it to the championship, I think that they could maybe take down one of those teams, but it would be hard.
Yeah. Call that wishful thinking, maybe, but I don't know. We'll see. Take the fourth quarter of last week versus in this game. If that's what the Broncos' offense is going to look like going forward, they're going to be tough to stop. So we'll take a look. All right, let's move on to the next game here. Not the most exciting matchup. Titans at Colts. Two teams definitely moving in opposite directions. Colts win this one easily, 38-14. Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones continue their excellent season. Colts defense was solid. Titans 1 week off of firing their head coach and go with Mike McCoy as the interim. Looked pretty much the same. Cam Ward struggling. Can't tell if he's going to be able to overcome the way that his career started with this roster and coaching staff. But now 1-7 now for the Titans. Colts now 7-1. Hard to believe, but they are cruising. Sam, anything you want to add there?
Well, yeah, Cam Ward looks okay at best. I think is an upgrade from Will Levis, but didn't look exactly great. The Titans just really, really need to change everything. I think their only good player is Jeffrey Simmons, and if I were them, which they traded away their cornerback pretty recently, I would just be trading away players for draft stock in this next few drafts to try to build up a good enough roster. They really have no wide receiver one. They're two tight ends, Gunnar Helm and I'm not sure what their starting tight end's name is, but they look okay. The wide receivers do not look good. Elick Ailman maybe will break out and be a good wide receiver. They just released Tyler Lockett. They really don't have a good running back. Their defense sucks. I just think that they need to pretty much do everything differently.
Yeah, it's a full rebuild there for the Titans. So, not something I'm sure their fans are happy about, but it is what it is. All right, let's move on to the Aaron Rodgers Bowl as the Green Bay Packers visit the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Packers showed us a little something here that they consider themselves to be legit contenders in the NFC with a 35-25 win over Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Big takeaway here is Steelers defensively, especially in that fourth quarter, giving up 21 points. Have some holes to figure out. And the Packers look legit. They're 5-1-1, while the Steelers dropped to 4-3. Sam, anything you want to add there?
Well, the Packers are a kind of confusing team. Most weeks they look pretty good, and you have a few weeks like the game against the Browns where they just don't look good. But yeah, I think overall the Packers have been doing pretty good. They made good moves in the offseason. The Michael Parsons trade, I think, was a good thing for them. They did trade away, I believe, 2 first-round picks, which isn't great, considering that they've now lost a ton of draft capital, so they'll have to find a way to get some first-round picks, but I think it was overall pretty good for them. The Steelers, Aaron Rodgers continues to look pretty good, and I think the Steelers will for sure make the playoffs.
All right. Let's move on. Monday night game, not particularly compelling or competitive in any way, shape, or form. The Commanders and the Chiefs. Chiefs win this one 28-7. They are rolling right now, improving to 5-3, while the Commanders drop to 3-5. No Jaden Daniels for the Commanders. They've been banged up quite a bit at both quarterback and wide receiver. They've lost one of their running backs for the year. They traded one of them away. Sam will tell you that'll curse the franchise forever. Trading away, who was it again, Sam?
Brian Robinson.
Yeah, Brian Robinson to the 49ers. Chiefs, on the other hand, Patrick Mahomes looks so good right now. Threw 3 touchdowns. This was sort of a ho-hum, easy, not going to waste too much effort win for the Chiefs. Again, they're now 5-3 and squarely back in the mix of things after a slow start for them. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, the Commanders, I believe they'll be getting Jaden Daniels back, but yeah, they not Marcus Mariota started off good. It was 7-7 going into halftime, and then after halftime, they just fell apart.
Yep. All right. Well, that's the wrap up here. A little bit of a shorter week with all the buys, but we'll be back next week for Week 9's wrap up. Until then, good luck on your waiver wire if you're playing fantasy sports, and we'll see you next week.